So I'm Pete Mentine from 23 ABC, and I'm interviewing Pennywise's Jim Lindberg, who's the lead singer. So let's talk about Pennywise's upcoming tour with Rise Against. Have you guys ever been to Bakersfield before?
You know, we were in Bakersfield a long time ago. It's I want to say back in the 90s, right after our second album came out, I think. We played a place out there for a promoter that was I think it was like a an old grocery store that they or department store that they had threw some shows at. So it's been a minute since we've been to Bakersfield, but definitely looking on hoping to come back and see all our people out there. So looking forward to it.
Sounds cool. Um, you're also going to be playing 5 different albums. Is it 5 straight nights that you're doing that?
Yep, we're doing we're doing 2 the first weekend and then 3 the next weekend, kind of keeping it on the weekends so people don't have to worry about work so much. But yeah, we're doing the first 5 albums, the first 2 on the first weekend, and then the third, fourth, and fifth the next weekend.
Okay. Is that kind of to gear up for the stadium tour, or?
You know, we just had been talking about doing this for a long time. We've done a lot of album shows in Australia, and they went over really good, and people seem to dig that. So we decided to do one a little closer to home. We did it at the Hollywood Palladium a while back and did the first 3 records, but this time we're trying to do all 5. So
Okay.
it's quite a task. We've been practicing every day, and it's hard to remember all the words, but we eventually make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, some of those albums are, well, the self-title just turned 30, so in October, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to believe that it happened that fast, but yeah, that it's we were working on that album when we were still in our 20s, you know, and it's amazing to think that we've lasted this long.
What do you think the secret to your longevity has been?
Um, I would say probably trying not to do too much. A lot of guys get burnt out with the road and touring so much. And you know, there was a time we did a lot more, but we've kind of trying to relax a little bit so we all don't have to be gone from our families as long. So
Okay.
And we're not spring chickens anymore, so it's nice to just have shorter tours. Like this one with Rise Against is only a couple weeks instead of like a month-long tour.
Um, the song Broham holds a special importance to the band and also to the fans. Can you kind of explain why it's so special, and for people who might not know the
The history of it, yeah. You know, Brohim was a song that was originally written for 3 of our friends who passed away, Tim Colvin, Carlos Canton, and Tom Nichols. And they died at an early age, and all good friends of mine. And Tim Colvin actually gave me my first punk rock mixtape.
Oh.
And it was I sat next to Carlos Canton in school in Hermosa Valley School. It's called middle school back then. So these were really well loved people in the community. And Jason had this idea to write a song about the bonds of brotherhood and missing your friends and trying to remember the good times. And it came along with a little refrain that was the whoa whoa whoas, and it unfortunately when Jason passed away, we had to rededicate the song to him, and we retitled it Brohim Tribute when he passed away. And the song has just taken on a life of its own. It's played in soccer stadiums, football stadiums, baseball stadiums, and it just really struck a chord with people. And it's amazing to see the journey that song has taken on.
Definitely. You've also appeared in Epic's docuseries about punk, and also a documentary about punk rock fathers called The Other F Word. How did those projects come about?
Um, the punk documentary, that one was really easy. I just, someone sent me an email and asked if I wanted to be in a documentary, and that all these great people from other bands were involved in it. And I said, why not? And the other one, the other F word, I wrote a book called Punk Rock Dad that was about being in a punk band and being a father, and what that life is like. And some friends of mine that were in the film industry came to me and said they thought it would be a good idea to make it into a documentary. And so I said, that sounds like a good idea, as long as I can bring some other punk rock dads into the mix. And so I got people like Art Alexakis and Mark Hoppus and Tim from Rise Against, and Lars from Rancid, Mike from NoFX, all these great guys that were great fathers as well, and got to give their opinion on being a parent and a punk rock musician. So it was really cool. I think that it came out really well, and people seem to really like it.
Yeah, it was really a cool documentary. It was kind of interesting to see guys that you normally see on stage and kind of behind the scenes sort of things.
Right.
You left Pennywise in 2009 and played in a band called The Race before returning in 2012. What kind of sparked your return?
Actually, when I left, and I formed a band called the Black Pacific,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we put out an album on Side One Dummy Records, and then did some touring on that. And basically, when I left the band, it just felt like we needed a break from each other, and I know I did, and I just wanted to go on hiatus, but the other guys didn't. So that was the unfortunate situation there. And then there came a time when after a time had passed, it just I talked to some of the guys and just felt like the right time to fire it up again. And it's just a very strange relationship when you're in a band, and it's a bunch of guys trying to get along and have very important decisions, and a lot of people are very passionate about how they think the band should be presented and how it should be run. And there's always going to be conflicts, but hopefully we're finding a way to manage it a little better. But it's never easy. That's why you see so many bands breaking up and going through problems and personnel changes. But things seem to be cruising along pretty well right now.
That's good to hear. Especially since Never Gonna Die seems like you kind of keep on getting better with age, because it seems like that almost has the rawness that the self-titled had, that kind of seemed like it got a little missing. I don't know.
Yeah. Can you hold on 1 second?
Sure.
Okay, I'm sorry. I gotta answer the door. So you're talking about oh, thank you. So you're talking about Never Gonna Die album compared to the other albums. And I think that with that record, we had a batch of songs and then kind of wrote some new ones. And I think we got to a point where we were really just like, we'd putting out so much stuff together and so many albums that, it's hard to not repeat yourself in certain themes. And I think I took a concerted effort with that one to really, find some themes that were really important to me and important to the band. And it just felt like we found a real sweet spot with that record, and working with all the producers and everyone. It just seemed to be a real easy time in the studio, and it was a pretty prolific time, and hoping to get back in there and do another one, but it's been difficult with everything going on. But I'm pretty happy with the response that it got. So yeah, hoping to do more.
Sounds great. Looks like a lost video again. Oh, there you go. Cool.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
It's all good. So let's talk about your solo album for a minute.
Okay.
Songs from Elkhorn Trail. It's kind of different from Pennywise. What would you say your influences were when you were making the album?
Some songs on the album are like, from like 30 years ago, like when I was 15 years old.
Oh,
Hey, there's Emily from Punk Rock and Paintbrushes.
nice.
Hi. She's famous. Yeah, but the songs on Elkhorn Trail are span a pretty wide period of time, from when I was like 15 years old, writing my first songs on guitar, all the way up to right before I went in to record the album. So some songs were written years ago, some were pretty brand new, and a lot of it has to do with the themes of time passing, but also my father died from Alzheimer's disease a year or two before, and a lot of the themes are about going through that, and the impression that he had on my life, because he was very, very supportive of me and my music, and bought me my first guitar and my first microphone to sing in. So the album it's kind of about loss and kind of the bittersweet nature of life. So it's very different from the themes that we cover in Pennywise. But I think if people are into the songwriting from the band, it's interesting to hear another side to it instead of a bunch of fuck off songs.
Yeah, I can understand that. So what music do you listen to that fans might not or might be surprised by?
I think all of them. It's pretty rare to find people out there that only listen to one kind of music exclusively. I guess it's not that rare. There's a lot of metalheads out there that hate everything else. But I really love country music. I love new wave music. I'm a kid of the 80s, so I love Devo and B-52s and Elvis Costello and even the like Duran Duran and Echo and the Bunnymen and Morrissey and all these bands that Fletcher hates. I don't know, maybe he doesn't hate them all, but yeah, I like all kinds of music. I love Frank Sinatra. My dad turned me on to all kinds of really great artists when I was growing up, and we had a few record stores nearby that I would skate down to, and that's how I found the Sex Pistols album. That's how I found the Ramones album, like right when they first came out. And some albums I bought just because I liked the album cover art, So that was a band, the Split Ends. I bought their album just by looking at the cover. So I think all of that's really important when coming into a record, whether it's the artwork or the music or the people in the band. It's about connecting, and I have a pretty wide palette of music and styles that I like, and try not to be a hater. I always think that there's got to be some redeeming quality for any band, and if they're doing something that they love and dig it, might as well let everyone have their own say. That's what I hope for people with our band.
So there's a few songs on the album that like Good Enough and The Palm of Your Hand that feel kind of at home in the Pennywise canon almost. Any thoughts about maybe playing those live during the Rise Against tour, or are you going to be touring behind the solo album at all?
I have a few shows lined up, one with Emily and Brandon Novak. What's the name of his Novak house?
Novak's house.
Novak's house. He's doing a really cool thing. Emily from Punk Rock Paintbrushes has been super supportive and done tons of stuff. That's why she's here, so I can sign some new art. We're doing a really cool gig with him in about a month or so here. And he has a sober house for gentlemen looking to end their dependence on alcohol. So that's a really cool thing. And they can check out my Instagram site to see some information on that. And then I'm playing with the Dropkick Murphys. I'm playing at the Beachside Festival here in Redondo Beach. And then we're in some talks to do a kind of a lead singers tour with some guys I like to play with, Trevor Keith, Jason DeVore, and maybe Russ Rankin. So we're trying to put something together, but I've got a lot of Pennywise shows coming up too.
Yeah, definitely. You've also had some pretty cool guest spots recently with skate legends Tony Hawk and Steve Caballero. How did the Mike and his uke cover of Nirvana's "In Bloom" come about, and also the Urethane's "Inheritance"?
It's funny, during COVID, all of a sudden I had various people calling me up wanting to do those cover songs. And one was Mikey and his uke, this guy who plays with his ukulele. And they just kept asking, and there's nothing to do during the pandemic at certain times. So a lot of people are like, hey, why not? And then Tony Hawk did his, and it was outrageously good. It was actually made me angry that Tony Hawk comes in and does the best one of all the lead singers, because he had this backdrop and then he dropped it and then he skated into a half pipe and it was just killer. And then with Steve Caballero, I've been friends with him since the Warped Tour back in the 90s, and just like living legend and the nicest guy in the world. And when he asks you to do something, you don't say no. So that was an easy one. And I was blown away by how good the band was, and great songwriting, great musicians, and it was just super cool to be a part of that. And I love the song too. So it was great to be part of both those projects.
Yeah, the Urethanes definitely are mind blowing. I was surprised by it. Not super surprised, because I mean, he was good in the Faction and also in Odd Man Out. So I mean, there was always that sort of musical ability.
Oh yeah, he would get up and play with us on stage, and it was obvious from the start with his bands that he's just one of those guys that's a jack of all trades. He's a great artist, he's a great skater, he rides motorcycles, he plays in a band.
Yeah.
He does it all, and it once again makes me angry. He's so good at everything. I have to struggle.
Now you also have some other projects, including the Beach Life Festival and punkguru.com, which features books, music, and punk rock. Can you tell a little bit about each?
Yeah, the Beachside Festival is something that was started here by a guy named Alan Sanford, who owns restaurants and owns a music venue, and started putting on concerts on the beach, and then kind of moved it over to Redondo Beach, and somehow he got Willie Nelson and Brian Wilson to agree to perform, and Bob Weir the first year. And then we've kind of been building it together since then. And last year we had Jane's Addiction and Cage the Elephant, a bunch of great bands, Ziggy Marley. And then this year we've got Weezer, 311, Smashing Pumpkins, Steve Miller Band, Sheryl Crow, and just a ton of cool bands. So it's just been something that kind of popped up, and Alan was looking for someone foolish enough to try it with him, and it's been fun. It's definitely strange to see it from the other side of being on the festival side instead of the one playing the festival. So I've learned a lot, and Emily and Punk Rock and Paintbrushes is involved in that as well. So that's really cool. So I'm giving her plugs because she's right here. But I do anyways, but she happens to be here, so I'm doubling up.
Oh, no worries. I completely forgot about that part too, because you've also been painting and selling, auctioning it off, I believe, or
Yeah, I sure have. Look, you can see it.
nice.
See, here's my artwork. Ta-da. Yeah, so that's been really fun, and Emily's done a great job with bringing all these musicians and artists and skaters and people together to put out artwork, and working with great causes, and it's just been a super fun ride and something different to do besides playing music. And I think it's motivated a lot of people to, I know definitely with me, to pick up the pen and the ink pad or whatever, to start doing art again, because I always loved to draw, but I hadn't done it in years. And I've recently been finding all these doodles that I have from when I was younger, and don't know why I ever stopped. So I want to do a lot more of it. And Punk Rock and Paintbrushes has just been killing it. And that's why I knew I had to have her be part of Beach Life. And it just really adds to the festival. I think there's times at festivals where maybe you want to sit out a certain band or see something different, and people are just walking around blown away at the great artwork. So it's super cool.
Yeah, that does sound really cool.
Yeah.
Have you also been skating and surfing still?
I surf as much as I possibly can. The skating has definitely fallen off. I injured myself enough times. I broke 3 ribs on tour in a while back, skating in the dark, and someone didn't tell me there was an extension cable on the ground in the skate park, and I suffered the consequences. So yeah, that was very painful. So I just kind of cruise on the skating now. I might go skate on the strand, on a longboard or something, but my half pipe days are over a long time ago.
Yeah, that's kind of the same way for
Yeah.
me too. Once you reach a certain age, it's like
Yeah, the
the risk
broken
reward
bones.
isn't quite there anymore.
Yeah, the broken bones aren't worth it.
Yeah, for sure. Is there anything that I haven't talked about that you want to talk about?
I think we covered it all. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, one thing, the songs from the Elkhorn Trail, my acoustic album, we did a split release on that, and so the digital release came out in November, and then but the albums, like everything else, are delayed because of production. So the physical albums come out on May 1st. So it's kind of a split release right now. So you can find it on Spotify or YouTube or Apple Music or places like that, but you got to wait to get the actual album. So
Yeah.
everyone does that when the time comes.
And I think you can also get it digitally on Bandcamp, as well as you can buy it on Bandcamp.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So lots of good places, and yeah, and support Emily and Punk Rock and Paintbrushes too. That's my final plug.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing the interview with me. And I look forward to you guys being on tour, because I think the Rise Against tour should be really rad.
Yeah, cool. Definitely. I think it's going to be great, and it's going to be great to get back out to Bakersfield.
No, definitely, definitely. Looking forward to it.